just tell me, and we'll hold it.
Right, I think I've worked a lot more on the street, like down the street. No talk there on specifically going dark sky, but that was part of their request that you'll see at the end. They want to do a study to see what would be the best option for Lions for LED lighting, because it includes not just the LED bulb, but do we want to look at specific different fixtures that would help improve dark sky?
That would be great, because then maybe whoever is doing it would stop shooting out the light in the alley behind my house. So,
Yeah.
because they shine in houses. I mean, it really is. They're bright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will help with the control system that we have also.
Great.
Number 2 years, I think it'll be 2 years in December, we didn't pay, but we made the request for these streetlight control modules. Everything being on back order, we finally got those a couple of months ago. Have a training this coming week that's gotten pushed out to November. To start getting these modules that will allow us to dim lights, turn the lights on and off at different times, which will also help with that. And so to show the difference, the controlling is actually dealing with, again, dimming lights or turning them on and off. We still have the same lights that we have. So if they're halogen bulbs, they would remain halogen bulbs unless we have a separate project to replace those old halogen bulbs with LED.
Right.
So that's the part the UEB was looking at here. It's in the next slide somewhat too on the UEB requests.
Yeah.
So real quick, back to electric. Is there a possibility that we could go fully green in 2024? Is Means still going to be able to offer that out to us?
Possibility, I don't know how high the expectation is that will be 100%. Jim has had some hopes from some of the meetings. I was planning to go to the November meeting next month to Nebraska, so I will see if there's any, progress on that. But we are, again, I think we're the second one in line after Gunnison to get new.
I know we had a false alarm. We got all excited and then it didn't happen, but it'd be really nice to push for that, because there's people out there making decisions. Should I put solar panels on my house or not? And they're like, well, if we go fully green, then at least environmentally, I don't need to do it, but I would still might want to do it just so I can reduce my costs, but they're not sure if that's enough reason for them to want to do it. So there's people asking about it. I've had 3 people asking about it.
And it's kind of all theoretical too. Like we could say, Mean could say, we're giving you all green energy, but we don't know how that energy is generated. Right. So.
Yeah, at least the electricity we get isn't necessarily green. It's just, we're just making sure a certain percentage is.
That's
green.
right.
Because
That's
it's all,
right.
it's like gas. Time goes into the thing.
That's exactly right. So people should make their.
And so while it may help some people, it won't. There are still others who I've heard from too, who even if we said we were going all green with Means, they would say that it would be better to have our own solar here. So you'll have those, but again, yes, it's better to know where we're going and make that decision than have 2 decisions to be made.
Yeah.
And one more question, is the solar co-op functioning?
Yeah,
And are there
I was
meetings?
gonna try to get, they're moving along. They have people. I was hoping to get him a document I saw that said 5 homes in Lyons are part of that project.
Is it too late to be a part of that project, or you can still be in?
I'd have to try to look up, they filled it up the day it went out and they were talking about increasing it. And so sure if they were able to double the amount of people they allowed in or not, that's what I heard them. Yeah, I don't know if Jim's not here. I don't know if she was on any of the latest meetings there.
So I appreciate this conversation about switching to LED streetlights. We've already done that at our house actually over the years. And I'm just curious, the UEB projects $20,000 to do the photometric study to transition. So how much more would it be to actually switch over?
We would have to see through the study what
I
they
see.
would say.
So we have to spend $20,000 to actually find out how much it's going to cost to do that.
That would be part of it, right? We don't know, I don't have a listing of how many halogen lights versus LED lights that we have. Just replacing the bulbs is all we should be looking at, or should we be looking at a different type of functionality? What happens once we put this control system in, that will also help with turning lights off, say 1 to 4 in the morning where we don't need them. And the dark skies aspect of it. So because this is definitely we get called all the time, both Dave and I, just already, there's
Yeah.
one neighbor in the alley wants it on.
Yeah.
Because then her husband doesn't have to turn the light on in the house. I said, well, don't tell me that part, because that's not why we're putting a street light in, but the one across the alley doesn't want the light on, because her kid can't sleep. So I get this all the time, and it is, so if we can keep progress on that,
Very real.
controlling.
Yeah,
this is,
And the LEDs are more of a problem though, as we know, they're brighter.
That's right.
They're-
That's why,
they make it
like,
worse.
they need to be pointed out.
well, and I have a neighbor on Second who literally won't complain about the light that is out because he doesn't want it coming back on. I mean, there's just.
We spend a lot of time out and actually, because we get into a situation where one person doesn't want it, but the other person does, where we actually go out and we have to fabricate shields
Yeah.
and we have to affix them to lights. So my guess is, and my suggestion would be that you probably are gonna have to get into a situation where the whole fixture is gonna need to be changed out, and you will need to have that down lighting with shields.
Okay.
Because it does become a health and public safety issue in areas where you do want some sort of light in the areas, at intersections and around public buildings or facilities where you have liability issues. But you do want it to be LED, and you want it shielded from.
And just so all of you know, policy that the Director of Utilities as an administrative policy we had made a few years back was there is, I have the form somewhere, it may not be a form, but the policy is that if you want to change what's there, if you don't want a street light or you want to add a street light, you're to go out and get 70% of the neighbors within, I think it's 500 feet, a 500-foot radius. And if they're in agreement, then that's what the town would look at. For turning a light off, it's much easier because there's no real cost to go out and do that. Adding the street light, we have to look at the cost involved. Turning the street light out is, we look at safety, if that is a concern, but otherwise it's not a big physical project to do that. If people ask, it's getting the neighbors together. And they can, that way we're trying to allow individual areas to have a democratic process of for your individual block. Otherwise, we've tried to come up with a whole town policy, but as you know, that's both sides here, back and forth.
Interesting. Okay, good. I'll let my neighbor with the meeting know.
Next slide, please. Yeah. So this was the focus, I think, on the capital improvement project for the budget. In stormwater, we have that design for second and third infrastructure, right, that we had thought would be about $1 million. We applied for the HMGP grant for 940,000 of that. And you all had signed the resolution that we would set aside the 110,000. And that's this year, but would roll into 2024. So it's already in there and it doesn't show in the budget as an expense for 24 because it's in for this year, just rolling and no new project.
Assuming that we get that grant, which hopefully we do, how long is the design process?
Seems these days I estimate a year. I don't know if we can get it done quicker, right? Because these
Advertised.
and the last two projects we've had go out, we've had to re-go out because we only get a real bid or things don't go right. So even just the bidding is a couple of months.
Okay,
Can you remind us when we'll find out about that grant? I don't remember. Is it soon? End of October?
I don't know That's this one. I think that's in December.
Okay,
It's coming up.
and that's just the design window.
That's just the design.
That's not even,
That's not one shovel.
Then the
Yeah.
estimate, the construction was three. Yeah.
And that's why we're just thinking about the ballot issue.
There is the same HMGP granting for construction that can be done too, or not. It's the
But you
same
can't
grant
apply to the
area.
design.
got it.
And I think it's different match funding. Then in the water, again, no new projects really there. We have 8 pressure reducing valves, which again, they reduce the high pressure line that runs from our pump station to the tank up on Apple Valley, which is really high pressure. And so we need to reduce the pressure as it goes out into the different parts of town. 3 of them are still old and haven't had anything done since the flood. So we've been talking about it, that we're hoping to get at least one possibly done yet this year, but again, Justin has seen how busy the town gets, and so it is taking him a little more to get that design and RFP out. Still hopeful we can do that. And then trying to use the rest had been set aside previously with the ARPA funds for those. So no changes to the budget. The sewer, you know, as for Kathy mentioning earlier, all the $1 that was in set aside, just to give you some details, right? We're looking to modify the operating costs. We want to reduce them down to what we were told they should be when we first started this project 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But remember, it's been 10 years since any of the previous studies were done. And the general time frame is every 5 years, you're doing at least a little bit of a study. CDPHE can want that. In our region, we don't have that requirement. Just north, Fort Collins areas and others, I think they have to do it every 5 years. An actual larger study. And then we have this new permit that we have also, which has some new requirements on it because it's a different permit. But there are new regulations, as you know, we have more and more concerns about these PFAS are not specifically ones coming up, but even there's 2 regulations specifically, you might hear around 35 and 81, which are phosphorus and nitrogen. So those are scheduled to come online in 2027, maybe even something in 2025. So if we're going to do work at the plant, we should probably look at that so we don't have to redo things.
We looked at getting a grant to move it to Longmont.
That would be part of this study. So it is in the actual study. We did look at that previously. So I'm now feel very adept. I read 4 large 60-page studies. So the original one deviated in 2011, the Honeywell one. I read Erie just put together their own whole plan in 2021 that they have out, which was a good read. And then, as I said, Fort Collins, that whole region of CDPHE has a guideline to what they want to see. So in that 3rd line is a wastewater utility plan. And one of the standard requirements in there, again, it's not officially required by our region. Again, it gets complicated. We won't delve into why that's not required, but it's not officially required. Those who do, you have to spend time looking at consolidation. So for us, the only consolidation option would be with Longmont. So they can look back over what was previously put into those studies. The 2 studies, JVA and Honeywell, have information on what it would take to get that out to Longmont. So they will also include that in the first step that we'll spend money on is getting a new wastewater utility plan. That will be focused on how we can reduce the operating costs, right? We have ideas that have put together from all the work we've done and with Right Water engineers who was part of the legal plan, saying, well, instead of your centrifuge, switch to a press. So they'll compare some of those things. They'll include the option of, well, what would it be to go out to Longmont? And they'll try to include these new permit requirements that we'll be seeing in the coming year.
The answer is yes.
But
So 10 years ago, it was $9 million.
Yeah.
10 years ago, it was $9 million. That's not what land costs right there now.
And my neighbor who was a grant writer said there's some recent federal grants have come out that would be perfect for this.
I remember seeing
I ran
that.
into her at Moxie just on the way here
Did you?
and heard all
Oh,
about
she
it.
did.
Yeah.
But why is there a high level push for consolidation? Is it just because there's a realization you can economy of scale and all these other good things?
Yeah, and we wouldn't have to run.
And we would have to run something that good money.
Yes.
The state. the state- Right, because again, it's less places they'd have to monitor, be concerned about, right? If we're going to Longmont, now it's, they don't have to deal with lions, but so the less plants they have to try to monitor and keep track of helps, and it's less areas where you are polluting. It's part of the overall EPA ideas of keeping the things clean.
If we ever did build up the Eastern Corridor, would consolidation be better because it's all going that way?
Would be.
It is all
downhill. Yeah.
It's all downhill.
All the way to
I don't know,
the.
the other plans talk about pumps, I don't know if it's downhill enough.
It's,
Because it had pressure, it had. Like we have now, right? Right now, the Eastern Corridor is pumped back up to 100. But there were talk of pumps to do that.
okay, I'm gonna keep moving. Yeah. We could talk about that for hours. but-
Electric is the 2024 budget has 100,000 for undergrounding lines, and so we've been trying to do regularly. It includes though, unless we set it aside somewhere else. I know, Cassie, we didn't talk before, but the other HMGP grant was the underground electric. We want to design for undergrounding our electric lines from 3666 into Black Bear Hole. And that was one of the other resolutions you guys had approved to apply for that grant. And the set aside was 30,000. So we didn't have that listed in the budget, so I was just taking that out of the 100,000 for undergrounding lines. So we're really down to 70,000 without a specific.
So that's that HMGP grant, that's for design only,
Yeah,
and that's not the same as the second and third, the stormwater infrastructure grant. They're two different applications. Okay, and I'm I'm not sure that I am in agreement with taking that $30,000 out of the 2024 budget to actually underground lines that we can underground now in town. Unless I'm misunderstanding this.
No, I think the 30,000 was from 2023.
you have a rollover. I didn't see it.
I
listed.
think so.
I didn't see it set aside in 23. I tried to look for that this morning.
So if it's an addition.
Yeah.
Okay. But we still have $100,000 to actually do undergrounding in 2024.
But Cassie will have to verify.
Okay.
All of those HPMG grants were allocated in 2023. So anything that we committed by resolution for those grants
Mhm.
was done in
Okay,
2023.
okay. And then the 265 for solar and storage, that's gonna roll into 2024. I think at some point. This board should take another look at that project. And go, where are we with this? Is there now a better use of those funds?
If you
What-
want, then the RFP, I was gonna hopefully be putting that out just in a month. I thought we were going forward with it, but are you guys now saying you don't want to go out with that?
We'll look at our workshop. Yeah, we'll look at a workshop about it. So I'm not saying anybody's changing their mind or anything. I just think it's been a while. Let's take another look at it and see where it fits on the priority list at this point.
And can I just clarify the 100,000 set aside for 2024 for undergrounding? That doesn't include any of the work that's being done currently on 36 and, right? Okay.
Just
In addition,
Yeah,
this is fire mitigation again.
Yeah,
We're trying to put aside to continuing to underground electric lines as part of fire mitigation.
and I think that's something that's important for the public to know that this is a fire mitigation project overall. And it has a huge impact.
And then the other ones are the requests that you'll see later, but the time of use one, we just talking 20,000, right? It's listed budget at 30, but the estimates I got were done at 20. And if you wanted to, right, you can add that in and take it from fund balance. It's not in the budget currently for 2024. Or again, if you felt it was something that should be done and you didn't want to have to take away more funds, you could adjust the undergrounding of lines to 80,000. Again, it's just an option for you guys to think about, right? You add 20,000 more coming out of fund balance for that time of use study, or you adjust the undergrounding to 80,000 and have 20,000 go, and then you're not changing the budget amount. You're just changing the note on there that says capital improvement, 80,000 undergrounded time of use study.
So the UEB request is in here.
The UAB requests are in the back.
All
So
the-
it's the very last one,
But they haven't been touched.
Yeah.
Okay, so this, one last question on the sewer treatment plant. If we did go to Longmont, could we recoup all that land for affordable housing?
We still need a plant there that takes everything. It's not a plant. We would still need a facility there.
Okay, so
That
we
takes
could
it in and transfers
No.
it. You would have more though. We probably wouldn't need as big of a facility.
But that's all floodway.
Reduce it.
It's floodway, so we can do a sewer treatment plant floodway. but-
Yes, it's a critical facility
Oh.
and it has to be adjacent to a river. So they allow it. Thank you so much, Erin. Sorry that we're running late. Enjoy the rest of your day. Or stay with us. We're staying.
I figured if you wanted, because if you're gonna talk about the UEB requests, it's still,
Yeah. Super. No news, leave.
I might go check on our.
We just-
So, see if they, I don't know if you all heard that, Longmont gave up 24-inch empty water line back in 1957.
Oh.
I found when we take out there, they found one they, and it's all Longmont, they showed it there.
So they're,
They donated that.
it's a delay. Of course they did.
Okay, thanks for sticking around there, Dave.
Just
Yeah.
See you today.
Happy to be.
See this. Yeah. Did you find somebody to help?
They're on the streets.
Oh.
Yep.
And then she's, yeah.
So hello, everyone.
Hello. Hello.
Of course.
That's a long list. Dave. I need a new sheet of paper.
Debating, but I thought it's always good to give you an overview. We have, our department is combined down there at our newer facility, which I think most of you have seen by now. But we're Parks and Public Works. This focuses on the public works side of things. And yes, it is quite a list, but I work closely with Aaron and engineering. And we take care of everything, streets and facilities wise. So, a lot of requests from the public and, Lyons has about 9 miles of streets and we fix potholes, plow, deal with the public sidewalks and right of ways and, it keeps us moving. We, do the public trash removal, mowing, trimming, signage, street signage, all those sorts of things. So that's what this